Monday, and it is so good to have a podcast to share with you guys again. Super excited for this one. It's a very, very different one. We've got a full, proper, normal, I guess you could say, episode coming out tomorrow. That is the 3rd of May, Tuesday. But today, the episode is with a guest that we've had on before, Sophie Ash. She's only 25 and she's made a surprising decision and announcement. So I won't spoil anything. Let's just get into it. Now, flicking through the Where Do We Begin Instagram page very recently, I saw a very, very recent and very young guest made a bit of an announcement. Didn't make a big hoo-ha, big kerfuffle about it, but Sophie Ash, firstly, I'd like to thank you very much for coming back onto the show, and secondly, can you tell us about this announcement that you've made and tell us about the decision?
Thank you. Retirement. I think first of all, it was quite a tough decision, and it was something that I didn't really expect. But it's only just really recently that I've announced that I'm going to stop mogul skiing competitively, but I'll still ski just for fun. There's not much to say about it really. I think it is what it is, and there are other things I want to do with my time and move into a different area of my life. So
that's the big reason behind it? You're just not quite as motivated as you were?
Yeah, I think it was quite a big 4 years, and I have been doing the sport for over 10 years. And I think I was having a lot of thoughts about the sport and kind of just the work. And there's obviously a lot of sacrifices you have to make to be at the highest level. And I just realized that I think I didn't want to make sacrifices anymore, and I wanted to start doing other things because I've always had my other hobbies, have my art making, and I had other goals like further study I wanted to do and work I wanted to do that wasn't really sport related, and I just figured it was just time to do that. It just felt right, I think.
So I was having a look. I saw we first spoke on the podcast on the 14th of February, just earlier this year. Were you thinking about then? Did you know then?
It was not really. I think at that point I was pretty, I was on the high of the Olympics and stuff. And I was kind of I'll go again, and I'm really pumped. And I think the more I've settled into life at home in Melbourne, and I'm studying, and my study's been very, very full on. And I think I just kind of made the decision fairly recently and actually said it out loud to myself. Yeah.
So when did you first say it out loud to yourself? Are we talking days, weeks?
Yeah, probably weeks, I'd say.
Okay.
Weeks, yeah.
So did you talk with your family about it, or was it completely of your own volition?
It was a bit of both. I think it started with me and just feeling like, do I want to go back and start training? Just the thought of that feel appealing. And at the time it was no, not necessarily right now. But I think then I just thought a bit more about it. And then I talked to my family about it a bit too. And they've been really supportive. I think they just want me to do whatever I feel like I need. And also my sister, I think she is still competing, and she obviously wants to go again and go to the next games and all that. I think it was quite an interesting conversation to have with her because she's still in it and I'm leaving it. But I think it was good to talk about it. Yeah.
I remember last time we spoke about the Olympic hangover kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you were still on the high at that point, as you said just a couple of minutes ago. But do you reckon the decision you made and this kind of crash back down to earth post-Olympics, a couple of months after now, maybe 3 months after, do you reckon they're linked?
Yes, I think so. I think for a long time it was pretty steady emotionally. You'd have the goal, but it would feel like it wouldn't feel real. And I think getting there was the extreme high of, any career you'd have. Going to the Olympics is feels like the epitome. And I think maybe on some level, knowing that I'd done that kind of made me feel like I could rest and be like, well, I've achieved that, and that's like my life goal. And I think maybe, yeah, to answer your question, which actually I'm not really sure if I really did, but yeah, I think yes, for sure.
Well, there have been a few cases over the years and decades in lots of sports of people retiring and then maybe regretting it a bit and then coming back.
Yeah.
Do you reckon,
Yeah.
is that off the table, or do you reckon that could happen? There's a faint glimmer of hope.
I don't know. That's such a tough one. I'm not sure. I think, well, who knows?
But
see.
You're not ruling it out. It's a possibility.
It could be. It could be. I know I'll do other events, but I don't know if I'll do World Cup again. But maybe I'll come back in a different way. Ooh. Not sure.
Ooh, okay. So yeah. Other events. Tell me about the other events.
Yeah. Well, other sports in snow sports that you could do potentially. Just like representing my university. I think that's a big one, because they've given me a lot over my career. They've supported me in the gym, and I've worked with a few people who just like kept me going through the tough times. And I think I really want to give back to the university, University of Melbourne, and just represent them. Yeah.
Is there anyone specific at University of Melbourne that you'd like to give a little shout out to?
Yeah. Actually, there is. Brendan Parnell. He is he's the elite athlete. I'm sorry, Brendan. I'm not sure what your role actually is, but he's just the guy you go to if you are in the elite athlete program at the University of Melbourne, and you kind of need to do stuff with study, or you just need someone to talk to. He's there. And then Tony Sefton, who's the former strength and conditioning coach of the elite athlete program, he was there giving me programs and just working really collaboratively to get me to the, where I wanted to go, especially when I wasn't in the national team. Those guys were really supportive, and they still are now, even when I guess I'm retired now. I'm still going to probably go to them for assistance and things like that. But yeah, those guys. And then just other guys who, other student athletes who, like my friend Amy and Mizan, these are guys who did karate with me. Yeah, they're really cool. And they're just people, everyone, the vibe that you're building in this community is just great.
Yeah, sounds absolutely awesome. Now, a question I've got to ask, if someone was going to write up a little article, a little piece about your mogul skiing career, what would you like that little piece or article to say about you?
Yeah, that's a really tough one. I think perhaps that I think maybe in mogul skiing it feels like it's a very individual sport, but when you actually think about it in a big picture sense, it's all about community, and every single person has a role in the sport, just like the team culture and working towards a goal, and putting things in place to reach that goal. So it's really hard to say. That's just the first thing that comes to mind, honestly, with the career, because I think it would be, on some level, I think I like to advocate for individuality and people having their own path and having a kind of a liberal approach to, autonomous approach to sport and be your own person, but also appreciating the big picture and the teamwork involved and just people around you. So I'm not really sure if that answers your question either. Very vague, but that's kind of what I think I'd write about.
What about achievements-wise? Is there a particular goal that you reached or something amazing that you feel really proud of?
Yeah, I think I'll just be really proud of just my persistence getting to the Olympics, all the hard work that I went through to achieve that, and I think just existing in that space, being in the team and just being able to overcome anything that really came at me from sport and from, all angles of life, I guess. I think it's just, the big picture. The achievements, your own personal goals and reaching your personal goals feels really good. And just sharing that with other people is really good too. Yeah.
And one last thing, specifically on the mogul skiing side of things, I'm really interested to know the process of going to the higher ups and telling the people that need to know that you're going to retire and you're going to leave the sport. So how do you do that? Can you fill me on that process?
Yeah, sure. So basically first of all, I kind of decided on my own. I didn't tell anybody necessarily. I just wanted to make sure that I had reflected enough in myself before I shared. I told a few of my coaches that I was kind of thinking, but I wasn't entirely sure what my next step would be, and just I needed a bit of a break to think about it. And then when the time came and I decided, I wrote you write like a formal email, and it just kind of says that, you're officially stepping away from the sport, and you kind of have to include all the people who are in the administrative team who, run everything, because I'm on a sports scholarship. So they obviously give you an amount of time for resources and things like that, like mental health resources in the gym before you're officially off the team and you can't access them anymore. So obviously transitioning is quite hard from sport to kind of normal life. But yeah, I did that, had an email, everyone was informed, and then I kind of just went from there, and I talked to my coaches a bit about the decision, kind of like we got on the same page about just, there wasn't really much to say about it. I think it's pretty self-explanatory because it's been a long kind of journey, and any decision there's no wrong or right decision or right time to do it. So it's kind of just up to you. So yeah, and that's what happened. And then I had got a medal at the Snow Australia Awards, and that was just to recognise my career and, representing Australia and at the Olympics. And yeah, and then that was kind of the end really. So normally I think if there wasn't perhaps an Olympic event and you retired before that, then not sure what the process would have been, but it's still, you still have to inform everybody and kind of go through a transition phase. And yeah, like there is, as I said, facilities for mental health. Like I know I'm talking to a transitional psychologist, which they provide for you, the NSWIS provides for you for free. And that's just to get through kind of some queries you have about it, or, some people have a really, really tough time transitioning. And I can also go to the gym, the Victorian Institute of Sport, which is in Melbourne. I can still go there if I like, and I can still get programs and, or talk to the S&C coaches about anything I want to do for the next, I don't know, I think it's a year, 6 months to a year. Yeah, so that's what's happened.
What kind of questions have you been asking and conversations have you been having with was it the transitional coach or the transitional psychologist? Sorry, can you talk to us a bit about that?
Yeah, sure. I think first of all, just adjusting to the different lifestyles. Like with sport, you're on the road. It's very fast paced. There's a lot at stake. It's very kind of intense. And then you have these periods where you go away for a few months and then you come home back to your, where you live, and you're with your family, and it's very calm and you don't do a whole lot normally. You just relax, have a holiday, and then you go back again and kind of go back to work. And it's on one level, it's very, it's exciting. It's quite enjoyable. There's a lot of thrills with competition and kind of things like that. But I think it's been quite challenging to come back and not have those kind of highs and lows. So it feels quite like everything's a lot more stable, which is good, but also bad because it feels, it's almost boring, it's not the right word, but there's not that kind of adrenaline, so I think adjusting to that and just figuring out where, how to fit in things in your life that you never had time for, and now you do. You have all this time now. So that's just figuring that out, and relationships and people come and go, and maybe people you relied on during your career no longer relate to, or the other way around. Maybe now you can cultivate friendships you never thought of because now you have time and things like that. So that's kind of like the vibe with that. Yeah.
Maybe nothing can quite match the adrenaline of going downhill at the Olympics, but do you have anything that you can do just in normal life as a quotation marks regular person to get a bit of an adrenaline rush?
Yeah, I do still work out. I like bouldering, rock climbing. That's a new hobby of mine. And I do like bike riding and running. But I haven't been in the gym and done any formal workouts for quite a long time. So I should probably do that. But I think just that, and maybe relaxing into life and not rushing, and just, like talking to people and doing things like that is, social. Yeah.
And looking ahead as we come to the end, is there a set out path that you can kind of see yourself going down in the future, like kind of plans that you have in mind, or are you kind of taking it all as it comes at the moment?
Yeah, I'm kind of taking it all as it comes. I'm trying to be very present and just get used to the life I'm leading and what that looks like now. But I do, still want to be involved in sport, and I do want to stay connected with that community that I've been in for like 10 years or more. So we're all a family, essentially. Probably do stuff with that, and just doing my study, I want to do teaching, and one day, teach, coach, some things like people related, help people kind of reach their goals like I had when I was, growing up, and things like that. Yeah.
Awesome. Sounds very exciting. Look forward to seeing Sophie Ash, the teacher, in action. But is there anything else you'd like to say before we wrap up about your career as a whole, or things you want to do in the future, or retirement in general?
Well, I guess I'd just like to say, thank you for interviewing me, but also I think retirement, it's so interesting. I think it's like that with anything, and it's relatable to a lot of people, and they're, going from one thing to another, and it can be quite challenging. But I think maybe not rushing through it, and just being aware of how you feel, and having people who support you is very important, I guess. But like that with anything in life. Yeah. So it's not just an athlete thing. It's like I am moving from a job to, not working, or the other way around, or I'm, leaving a partner, or I'm, whatever, doing something new, and it's moving to a different country. Yeah.
Sophie, as always, you've been very generous with your time. So thank you very much for coming back on the podcast. Congratulations on your mogul skiing career. Should be super proud of it. And all the best for the future. I'm sure we'll talk sometime soon.
Yeah, thank you, Harper. Cool. Thanks.